Welcome back to Sweet Pea and Bam. I'm Sweet Pea or Susie.
And my name is Bam.
And today we are coming at you with another episode. And this one is a good one, actually, because we are a little bit of experts in this area,
Indeed.
this topic, and that is long distance dating.
Indeed. We are great experts. We had an 8-hour time difference. We lived in different continents. We were only
Yeah.
able to see each other a couple times a year. So
Yeah.
we've been there.
And why do you feel like this is a pretty important message for the community that we're very involved in?
Well, we're a part of a big international church, and it's possible that you meet somebody from another branch, but that branch is from another continent, far across the world, but you feel like there could be a relationship there. So, but also you have concerns about a long distance relationship. So we're going to hopefully give you the good and the bad. I mean, I feel like I usually tell people to not long distance date, but the title of this episode is Why You Should. So we're going to try and sell it as much as we can, but also give you the other side.
Give you the reality, pros and cons. Yeah, I think this is a really important topic to talk about just because I've had quite a few people come up to me and ask me, opinions on long distance dating and, just different things related to it, especially international marriage, I guess you could say, which is what ours was and is. And so, yeah, I feel like this is really applicable for a decent amount of people that I've met. I think our world is becoming smaller. I think, not to say that we're the first couple that did this, like got married from multiple countries, but I think that we're maybe one of a few couples that in our age group, bracket, whatever, that has done it in recent times. So let's start with the pros.
Why you should.
Why should you long distance date? What is it? Can it work out?
Well, it worked for us. So you have that at least as a positive example.
Yeah. Your study group is not very big, but at least us, it's working. It worked, and our marriage is working, so that's good. In terms of pros, our first pro really is really applicable for Christians that believe as we do, that you really should save sex for marriage. I am very aware of the fact that many people in our culture and society today do not. We are Christians that do believe that you should, for many reasons that we are not going to explore today in this podcast. But the first pro is that when you are long distance dating, the sexual temptation or the temptation to do sexual things with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever before marriage goes way down. And the reason for that obviously is because of the fact that you're not around each other.
Yeah, and it's kind of by default. I think I would say there's less opportunity to act out on your temptations because
Yes.
the temptation may still be there. I mean, even depending on the topics that you speak about, we love boundaries here. That's one of our previous episodes. You have to have boundaries on topics you talk about because that could be a cause of temptation. But obviously, if you're long distance, you don't have the opportunity to act out on your temptations.
Yeah. And that's with the caveat of the fact that, like, I'm also very aware that you don't have to be with each other and maybe this is a point of debate, I don't know. But in my opinion, there is, you do have the ability to act out certain things virtually. I don't want to go into too much detail with that one, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
What I'm saying is more like you said, like, yes, you might still have temptation. That's not, I guess, yeah, you're right. It's not that you won't have that temptation, but like the temptation to act it out and to act upon it, upon those temptations, is that goes down because just the physical proximity is not there. You're not around each other. So,
And I think to be clear, sexual temptation is not bad in and of itself. It's natural as two people get to know each other, they become more than friends. God made sex, God made it good. It's natural that those feelings and desires would come over time.
yeah.
And it's up to us to be good stewards of our bodies, of our relationships, to say, we recognize this thing is good, but it's not in the right season, it's not in the right timing.
Yeah.
Let's wait until the covenant of marriage is upon this thing to enjoy it as God intended.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's not that's something we struggled with a lot is we really to go into a rabbit hole, but we both really wanted to not fall into sexual sin as we consider it sexual sin. And so we were both like super hyper wary and aware of our bodies and our feelings. And I don't know how you felt, but I almost got to a point where I was like, I wish I could turn it off like a switch. Like, I wish I just didn't have any attraction, physical attraction. That sounds bad, but I almost wish that, because then it would have made it so much easier, because yeah, it is natural. You want to be attracted to your spouse. You know, it's a natural thing. And it's a good thing in marriage to be as attracted to your spouse as you possibly can. But before, it's like the managing of those emotions that like they're good and they're normal and they are to be acted upon in marriage, but just waiting until that time is a really hard balance. Like, you don't want to be with somebody that you find repulsive, but at the same time, so you're going to be with someone that you find physically attractive and thereby have you tempted. But I almost like wanted it to just like go away completely. Like, I don't want to feel anything. And then once I get married, I want that to switch to be turned on. But it doesn't work that way. So, which is unfortunate, but you know, God is wiser than us and he knows why. But anyways, the fact that, yeah, so what I was agreeing with you basically. It was the fact that like when you're not around each other, it's easier to kind of like calm things down and not to be at the forefront of your mind. I think that's more the point, is that the physical attraction is not the main thing in your relationship. It's there, or at least it should be there, but it's not like the main thing, just like clouding your mind, overcoming everything else, every reasonable thought, every thought of, I want to remain holy, you know, I want to honor God's will, and not doing that yet. You don't have that there. Like the pheromones, the like physical nearness, you know, all of that is not there. And of course, that's not to say that you never like visit each other, but like, and that it doesn't occur when you are with each other, but that time of the ratio of time in which you're with each other versus not is not as much, obviously, because you're long distance dating. So you just have less time. So hopefully you prayed up before your visit.
Sure. And then
and you're ready.
Go with that in mind. Like, hey, we're going to meet up for the first time in 6 months. You bet there's going to be some pent up emotions and, you know, and you're going to need God, because your body is going to be on its own mission.
Right.
At that time, when we can testify to that.
Right. But at the same time, that's not to mean that when you live in the same town and you go to the same places, you know, that's not the same height of, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's only like bigger because like you're long distance dating. It's still there. It's still as strong, but I don't know. I think we're elaborating maybe too much. But you get what we're saying. You get what we're saying. At least the people who would agree with us in the fact that we should wait till marriage to have sex, in our opinion, in our belief. Okay.
All right.
Second point.
Our second point here is communication comes to the forefront and make you have to sink or swim in terms of communication. So what we mean is, when you only can talk on the phone, when you can only video call, when you can only send letters, it's a real test of, do you really want to be in this or not? Because that's all you have. Do you guys like talking to each other? Do you guys have things in common to speak about? Are you aligned on certain topics? Those things are going to come out quickly if you're talking often. You're going to share about your family, what you want in the future, what is important to you. So yeah, just the beauty of it, and I mean, it could be a pro or a con, but from our perspective, it's a positive that because you will be speaking so much, assuming you're both committed to this, you're going to find out a lot about each other pretty quickly and find out what that looks like. If you guys enjoy speaking with each other, if it's easy to speak to each other, if it's hard to speak to each other, if it's awkward. And I mean, hopefully it goes well. But even if it doesn't go well, at least you know, hey, this probably wasn't going to work out anyways because we really struggle to speak to each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like you said, I think when you're in a relationship where you're in the same place and you're able to like go together and do things, you potentially, I'm not saying that it's always like this, but potentially you could be together and yet like physically as in the same place, but almost not together like mentally,
Like
you
you could be
know?
going to the cinema together. You could be
Yeah,
going like on
exactly.
group dates and stuff like that, where it's you're in the same place but not necessarily getting to know a lot about each other.
Exactly. Exactly. And yes, you get kind of see the mannerisms just through observation, but that communication potentially is not there even when you're together like all the time. Like the movies is a great example. Terrible to anybody who's going on a first date, don't go to the movies because what are you going to find out about that person at the movies? You're watching the movie. You're just sitting by each other. They could be a stranger for all that, you communicate during that time. And if you're one of those people that does talk during the movie, just go stop. Don't go. Just another reason to not go.
She's talking to me as well because I love to speak in the theater.
Yeah, and so when you're a long distance dating and all you have is like, hey, let's call each other. Hey, let's call each other. Like you or video call, whatever. You're just talking. I mean, sometimes we would video call and like, you'd be off, doing something, but like not very often because then you're not really talking to each other. There are times when you just kind of have the phone and you like having the person there while you're doing something, but a lot of the times, most of the time, you're just sitting there and you're talking about everything. And what we mean by sink or swim is you probably are going to find out pretty quick if you communicate well with that person, if you guys get along. Because if you call that person and it's just like awkward talking to each other, just take that as a hint that your relationship is not going to really work out. Because if it's always awkward, like you can't be married to someone where you don't talk to them, or else your marriage is not going to last very long, or it's not going to be a very good marriage. Because you should be talking a lot to your spouse, and so it's a good precursor, a determining factor of the future, which is marriage in our belief system, is that you date to get married. You don't just
Yeah,
date to date.
that's the assumption here.
Yeah, we're operating under that assumption that our paradigm involves that. So,
Can I add a caveat just on the awkwardness?
yeah.
Because I was pretty awkward when I met Susie, and I was pretty awkward on the phone to begin with, but I did warm up over time, and I think Susie was my first real girlfriend or first person I courted, whatever terminology you want to use. So it took me a little while to just feel comfortable being myself. But I mean, that was from my side of things. But Susie obviously saw something in me that was like, this is worth continuing.
I'm trying to remember what it was like back then. I do remember you being super awkward. I found it very endearing though. And so, but the thing is, like, even though you felt awkward, you still talked to me.
Sure.
So again, we still were communicating. It was just like maybe we were both a little bit embarrassed because we were still getting to know each other and like, you know.
Yeah, so some awkwardness is normal, but
Yeah, I mean like
yeah,
awkward as in like they're giving you one word answers and they will not continue the conversation no matter how
sure.
hard you
Or
try.
even from some stuff I've heard, they don't want to speak on the phone.
Or
They
they don't
just
want
want to.
to.
They just want a text message. That's a sign right there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can have a long distance relationship just on text.
Not nowadays. I
That,
mean, in the
yeah.
olden days, definitely people used to do that, but
Well, letters, I
yeah,
suppose. Yeah, but even letters are different than texting. I don't know. I like letters. Letters are romantic. Letters are fun. We bring back letters.
that's some
Bring
game
back
for you
snail mail.
guys. Send your girl a letter. That's gonna make a
Or your
difference.
guy. Or your friend. Send your friend a letter. Like, getting something in the mail from someone else is like a present, even if it's just a piece of paper with your writing on it. Anyways, that's a total
All right,
other
we'll do another
subject.
episode for you on how to win someone's heart. What we got next, my love?
Okay, your commitment is tested and tried, potentially.
Yeah. And I think we've kind of addressed that a little bit, but you go ahead.
Yeah, we've addressed it a little bit in the sense of like the communication thing, like you can see pretty easily if that person really does want to talk to you by the fact that if they are willing to make a phone call and talk to you for even a little bit of time, or potentially, I mean, we would talk for hours on the phone or video call. That really does show that that person is pretty committed because, again, a lot of times it's hard to be doing something else while you're doing that talking. Not to say that you can't be on a walk or anything, but like you really have to be focused on that person when you're on that phone call, when you're on that video call, or it's very obvious if not. And so you can kind of see that, and that in and of itself is showing the commitment that they're focused on you and they're talking to you and they're not distracted by the fact that you guys are bowling or on a movie at a movie, or I don't know, whatever dates are. Can I not think of any
You
right
say
now?
we don't go on dates?
We do, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to think of like young people dates.
We're still young. Whoa.
Anyways, I think also, yes, your commitment is tested and tried because it's not easy being, and we'll get into that. But so if they are showing that they continue to communicate with you, they continue to be there talking to you, planning for the next time you guys are going to visit, all these things, like that in and of itself is showing commitment to you because it's not easy. It's not like you guys go to the same school and so you're dating because you're in the same class and like
Yeah.
it's just you're always there. Like you're having to cut time out of your day potentially. You might be in time. Me and Bam were in different time zones. Like he was
Yeah.
8 hours ahead of me. I had to be calling him sometimes at 5 a.m. where he was like, had been going on his day and is wide awake and I'm like so grumpy and tired and I had to not, be nice and not grumpy to him because, I wanted to make it work. And so if you're seeing all that, that's like a green flag. If they're willing to do all of that, that's a sign of commitment, and you want to have those signs before you're married because if you can't be committed
course.
before, it's going to be, dangerous in marriage. So another pro.
Another pro. It could work. It can work. I feel like we already addressed one at this point. It says get to know each other well. So I'll skip that one and I'll just go to the last one here. That says you don't take being together physically in the same area for granted. And so for us, I'm trying to think of our relationship. So we originally met at a church event in America, and that was a 2-week event. And then, that's when we first got to know each other. Then our next time we met was I came to visit Susie. Wait,
The next
is that
time
right?
he came to visit was when he proposed.
When I proposed, but you visited me twice between that time,
No?
or just you didn't visit me at all between that time.
No.
All right, so the next time we met, just trying to give you, there's going to be an episode of the timeline because we realized we haven't really done a good
It
job of talking
sounds-
about that.
Yeah, it sounds insane when you say it that way. Like, oh, we met each other. And then the next time we saw each other in person, it was when the time you proposed.
But this is
Sounds
kind
crazy.
of long distance dating, though, in a way, because you don't have as many opportunities to. Because I didn't want to propose over the phone. I didn't want to. So I
I didn't
was
even
like,
want to say I love you over the phone.
oh, that's another story.
Yeah,
I don't.
okay.
We've already spoken about that. I don't know. But anyways, so the next time we met was in Seattle, Washington State. So we went from
Yes.
Oregon to Washington.
I lived there.
Susie was up there. She was working up there at that time. And it was super special. It was so different. I realized I was still pretty awkward. There was a moment where Susie was like, hey, you can't keep eye contact right now. And I was like, really? And then I tried and I realized it was very difficult.
But you know what? That moment made it like a lot of the awkwardness left after that.
Good. But
When Bam came, he could barely even look at me. I think the first time actually I was at work the day you came. Maybe I'm ruining it I don't know. Anyways, I left a key under the doormat. I was like, get on the bus after the airport. This is crazy that I made you do
I wanted
this.
to go on the bus.
Oh, you wanted to? Okay. That makes me sound better. You got on the bus and I was like, I'll leave a key under my mat for my apartment. Go in there and like, you can rest a little bit while I'm at work. And again, we had very, very strict boundaries. So I was like, when I get there, we'll switch places. Like we don't want to be in a room alone together, especially like my apartment alone together. That's dangerous. So anyways, I got off work. I was all excited, driving back. And I like I think I knocked on the door and you opened the door and I think I was wearing slides or something and you're like, what are those? And then you like shut the door or something. I can't remember, but I just remember thinking like, what? Like, is this the same guy I've been talking to for like months and like a year, over a year at this point? And anyways, I got dressed. You left the apartment. I went in, got dressed, and we went on a walk. And then, yeah, you could not make eye contact with me. Like every time I looked at you, look away. And I just stopped and I was like, why are you looking at me? Every time I look at you, look away. And you're like, what? And it's funny because a lot of the awkwardness stopped after that, actually, in my opinion. I mean, there's still that like awkwardness of like, we're finally together.
And now you're kind of saying, you're taking me where I was wanting us to go, is that it is super special.
Yeah.
You definitely don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
I can remember so many moments of that first day. I remember we went on a walk, we went to the waterfront, and where we met. We spoke to some people there. We went to a place that you love to eat, like a Thai place that you really loved in that area.
Yeah.
I remember the candy I ate on that day. I mean, we're talking about a day.
You do?
This is 2019, right?
Yeah. What candy did you eat?
Like the corn candy, like that. You know that
Corn candy.
Like it looks like a corn kernel that you had in a
Oh,
little glass
candy
jar.
corn.
Candy, like. Could I from in the,
You guys
the
don't have
UK?
the UK?
I guess we don't have that. But I'm telling you. So this is 2019. I'm telling you about. I can go right back to that apartment.
Wow.
So it is. So just to make this point super clear, that it is super special. Those times
Yes.
you value them a lot.
Maybe we'll put some pictures in from that because we have pictures.
Maybe we should. Editor Bam, put the pictures in. All right. So yeah, we painted a pretty picture, right? Hey, long distance day, you can turn out like us. You can have a beautiful marriage. But there are a few things you'd want to consider and a few things that maybe will make it not work out. So some reasons why long distance can be hard. We're going to talk about some of those as well.
Well, the first and very obvious one is based on what we've just said is it does take a lot of work. There's no like beating around the bush, like pretending that it doesn't. Like it takes a lot of work. That's kind of what we went into when we were talking about the commitment. The fact that it takes a lot of work is that you can show that you're committed, but going back to the con is it does take a lot of work. Like, yeah, I mean every con is basically how it can take a lot of work, but let's just keep it simple. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of commitment.
Right. Like you can't, because like maybe if you were in person, you'd meet up. You know, maybe you wouldn't meet physically every day. You know, if you were in a region, if you were physically close to this person, you say you were dating somebody, you might not see them 7 days a week. But when you're long distance, you're definitely speaking to that person 7 days a week.
Pretty much.
And maybe multiple times a day, depending on what your schedules can allow for.
Or
so that's just a
hours a
little,
day.
So that's just an example of. It's not just, hey, let's meet up for dinner or let's go to the lake. You know, and that might be it that day in terms of when you're. But when it's long distance, it's like, since we can't have that in-person time, we have to make the most of whatever we can do online.
It almost makes it more serious. Like you can't really casual date long distance. You know?
Yeah, I don't think it will last.
It can't be really casual. Like I don't know what people do now. You know, in the world of dating, but from what I've seen in movies and heard, like. You know, you can't just be like, oh, walking around the lake with girl A on Monday and then girl B on Wednesday, you go to the movies and then girl C. Like, you can't do that. Like, I mean, that's bad. Don't do that. And I'm not condoning that at all. But I mean, like, casual dating. Because, people casual date all the time nowadays, which I'm not condoning. I disagree with it. But you can't do that when you're long distance. Like, it's a lot of work. And so you usually are. And maybe that's a pro. It's turning out it's a pro, guys. Long distance dating. Just kidding. But yeah, it is a lot of work.
The next point we have here is that you don't get to see each other physically. And I think this could be a deal breaker for some people. I mean, I would say that we're quite a physically affectionate couple. You know, we probably make people awkward a little bit sometimes when we're around as a couple. But we could get through though, and in a way, for us, it was a pro. That physical temptation, we couldn't act on it as much. But for some people, this could just be a deal breaker. Like, hey, if I can't physically hold your hand, if I can't give you a hug, if I can't get the intimacy of a face-to-face conversation, I can't really trust that person, and I respect that.
Yeah.
You know, there is something about being in person that you can never replace, no matter how good your internet connection is, how great the quality of your camera is.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that physical element is essential, then long distance dating is not going to work.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it still can. It will just, again, be very, very hard. I do know that I, yeah, I grew up with a very physically affectionate family. Like, we hug each other all the time and give each other little, little mwah, mwah, Italian kisses or whatever you want to call it, little cheek kisses. We do that all the time. And, like, we are, like, we're just like that. That's our family. We always have to hug each other before we leave, whatever. Hug and a kiss. Goodbye. Yeah, not when I was going through something hard and I was really upset, not being able to have a hug from you. A hug communicates so much like comfort and love, and not being able to have that pretty much ever. Like, it was hard. The irony is that one of our boundaries for a long time was to not hug. And so even that was hard too, but that goes into a different, that was on purpose. But yeah, not having you there, even just to like be next to you, like you feel, feeling that warmth of the other person next to you, like seeing their body language, that was really hard. But not to say you can't get through it like we did,
You can get through it, but I'm
but
just
it is
saying
hard.
potentially that could be a deal breaker for some people.
Yeah. Um, the next con is you potentially can get deceived, and then we put right under it, which is kind of in the same category, is catfishing, which I'm sure most people have heard about nowadays and know what that means. Catfishing is kind of pretending you're one thing when you really aren't. You're actually a totally different thing. The benefit of our relationship, and I think the thing that really helped establish a good foundation, is the fact that we did meet in person initially. We didn't meet online initially. And so I kind of saw kind of what you were like, at least a little bit. I saw your actual face, your actual voice. I knew if I was talking on the phone, it was you. It wasn't like
Yeah,
some AI, some other person, whatever. But yeah, I mean, potentially you could get deceived, and there are people out there that do get deceived, and that is really sad, and I feel bad for those people. But that is a con. Like, you
sure.
are on a phone, and we have a lot of technology nowadays that unfortunately can allow people to be deceived. So it's just a risk, I
It's part
guess.
of it. And it kind of links to another point here. I'm just going to tie them together. That this point I'm going to link is that you don't get to know their friends or family. So in terms, and because I think you learn a lot from somebody when you see them with their family,
Yeah.
and you can kind of get a vouch for somebody from mutual friends you have in common. Fortunately, I had a friend vouch for me when I originally met Susie Tolu. I remember that. I don't take it for granted. Thanks, bro. So he spoke to Susie on my behalf without my knowledge and just said like, "Hey, he's a good guy. Like, I vouch for him." And he told her to not like break my heart, like to treat me good. So I
Yeah.
had, and that goes a long way, especially when you're meeting each other for the first time or somebody you don't know as well.
Yeah.
Those people that maybe you both know a little bit makes a big difference. I would advise somebody like who's dating, if I knew them, like, hey, get to know their friends, get to know their family, and be in situations where you see them together, because you can get to see them. Like, when they're with you, they're going to be their best. They're going to be 100%. They're going to be nice. They're going to be generous, humble, all of that. But then with their family, with people that they might not even notice that you're there, they're going to show a little bit more of the rougher side of them, the rough edges. So potentially in a long distance relationship, you don't get as many opportunities to see them in other elements and other situations.
Yeah. I think that you can still reach out to their family. I know when me and Bam first started talking, we were getting maybe more serious, or I just wanted to know more about him. I did actually contact your sisters. I think I friended them on, or maybe it was just IO at first, or maybe I got their numbers from you. I don't remember actually. I think it was Instagram. Anyways, that's not the point. The point was that I reached out to them. I know for sure IO, I think was the first one I reached out to, and I was like, hey, so I'm talking to your brother. I don't know if he told you. I don't really remember the whole conversation, how it went, but I basically, the gist of it was, hey, could you tell me a little bit more about him? Like, he seems really nice from what I've seen of him, like, and what I know of him, but, and I know you're obviously going to be biased towards him, but if you could just tell me a little bit more about him, like what he kind of is like, and see if those things match up. And hopefully they would tell you the truth. And obviously it's their family members, so they're going to be a little bit biased. But, if you don't have to just reach out to one person, like reach out to multiple people. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Just reach out to different people that you know that they like go are in the same circles and just see what, like, hey, how is so and so? What are they like? I see that you're friends with them, or like maybe you grew up with them, things like that. And yeah, the person that you're talking to shouldn't be hiding who they grew up with and who they know. If they do, that's probably a red flag.
I think we have an episode coming up just about red flags. So we're giving you a little preview. But yeah, if they're like, don't worry about my family, don't worry about my friends, run away from that person. That's not the one for you, for sure. All right.
Oh, okay. I think one of our cons was ineffective communication could develop, bad habits could develop. I think one thing that a friend brought up to me, which never happened to my knowledge in our relationship, but because I think I was talking to her about the fact that we have really good communication, and like I feel like we can really talk to each other well, and she was saying like, well, it potentially could not be good communication because what if they're really mad, but then they just hang up the phone and they start raging when you're not on the phone with them, but you don't know that. And potentially they have a really bad temper, but you don't know that. You know what I mean?
Yikes.
So that could be a con. Like, I guess that kind of goes with the deceiving part too, but bad communication could be there. You could not even realize that like this person's a raging person with a huge short temper, because they never show it on the phone because they can just hang up and then be gone. But again, if they're hanging up on the phone every time you have a difficult conversation and they're not willing to talk through it, then again, probably a red flag.
Red flags. It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry. If you're excited for that episode, let us know in the comments.
And ironically, our last point.
All right. Well, we already touched that one.
Red flags can get missed.
Red flags can get missed. And it kind of goes into deception. A lot of it is around deception, I would say. That you don't get to see their true character. You don't get to see evidence of what they're telling you. They could tell you, hey, I'm the CEO of this company and I have millions of dollars in the bank. And then
send me your bank statement.
In reality, they're not that. Or there's so many things. And guys, unfortunately, will say almost anything, to get with a girl. I mean, a guy with no morals, a guy who's not a Christian, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's good for girls just know that guys, and girls are not always what they seem. People are really good at presenting an image. Sometimes it's not even they maybe not even intentionally deceptive, but they just want you to like them. So I think that there is an authentic version of that. But the point we're making is with long distance dating, courtship, whatever you want to put on it, there is that risk that somebody has a character that is not compatible with yours or has beliefs that are not compatible with yours.
Yeah.
But they're going to conveniently leave that stuff out of the conversations you have. Yeah. They're going to make sure that you stay in safe areas, but the stuff that is actually a problem is going to just, very conveniently never come up in a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to kind of sum it up, if you're considering long distance dating and you're worried about the cons that we just went over, you're excited about the pros, but you're kind of worried about the cons, our recommendation to you would be what we did was to don't rush it in the sense of like, don't put the cart before the horse. The horse is God and praying to God. Don't put the cart before the horse in the sense like, don't just be like, oh, gung-ho for it. Like, I don't really know this person because I maybe only met them once or I've never even met them in person. They seem like a great guy or a girl and I'm just going to date them and it'll be fine and I'll pray about it later if I like them, if I end up liking them a lot. Pray about it first and be very intentional with that and talk about it. Like, talk about, hey, I'm attracted to you. I like you. You seem really fun to be around, but I want this to lead towards marriage and a godly marriage. And so I'm going to pray about it. And we should both be praying about it separately. We should both be praying about it together. We should be talking about the things of God. Honestly, you should really be talking about your beliefs. Like, that should be one of the first, I feel like, things that you're talking about. I feel like that's what we did is we
I agree.
really went in depth of our beliefs and like what we believe. There's a lot of really good resources out there if you're having trouble thinking of what kind of questions to ask. I think there's a website called Desiring God that has really good questions to kind of just go over with each other of like, what's your belief about this? What's your belief about this? How are you raised? What do you think about finance? You know, like not even just spiritual questions, but like just really good questions that we went over and we took our time. You know, we didn't just go over all of them all at once. We like really would go in depth with like even just one question at a time. There's a ton of questions there. So, but yeah, the first thing you should be doing is just praying a lot because, yeah, there are people out there that are very tricky and they try to deceive you. But guess what? God knows. And if you have a relationship with the God who knows, he can let you know, even though the other person isn't letting you know. You know what I mean? And maybe that will means you getting closer to God so that you can understand where he is leading you. But
Sure.
that's never a con. That's always a pro. Even if all you get out of this relationship is a closer walk with God and he revealed to you that that person was not the one, at least now you have a closer walk with God. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
my two pieces.
And I'm backing up Susie of everything she said. Listen to that. That's great advice. And to build on what she said, you know, I think making your feelings known early, I'm not saying on the first time you've met each other or the first call, but be like, once you know you do have some feelings that you're interested in them, you can let them know that, hey, I am interested in you and I feel like I want to pray about this because I'm taking it seriously. And I don't think I want to put it out there that it's not cheesy or it's not like over spiritual to be like, I'm going to pray about this relationship. And because it's important to me, I want to talk to God about it, even if that means we're going to take a short break from talking, just so I can pray about it and feel like I'm I'm trying to take it seriously. I think that's attractive in a way that you're being authentic with your feelings and honest, direct. Yes, I have feelings. Yes, I'm interested in you. At the same time, I also want to align this relationship with my other goals, my most important beliefs, that I want God to be the center of my relationship. I think if a guy speaks that way, that's a big green flag that he's not just dating you to get your body. He wants you to be a wife. You know, he wants this to go for the long term. So yeah, let's make it normal to talk about praying about the relationship, to talk about I want God to be a part of this. That's not awkward. That's not over spiritual. That's what you want. You want a husband. You want a wife that is going to pray about things in your marriage. Is going to ask God for guidance on what to do next.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Hey, thank you for joining us. I think this is one of our. We love talking about relationships. We love talking about our relationship. We're gonna have an episode just about our story, and hopefully that will give hope to people on the long distance journey that it can work. We made it through. There were some challenges, but it worked out. Thanks for joining us. God bless. Let us know if you have any other ideas, anything you want us to talk about, and we'll try and get to it.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.